What's up, everyone? We have one of the most exciting videos of the week for today. We have some giant news with Elon Musk announcing today that he is stepping down as CEO, so that's huge news. And we also have a lot of potential fear set to come into the market as a United States debt default becomes more and more likely. When this happened in 2011, it did not go well at all. So we have some very big things to cover. And of course, we're going to talk about some good plays for tomorrow. And towards the end of the video, we have like a $1.76 million trade. So make sure to stick with us. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, we pretty much stayed within that chop range from yesterday. We ran up towards highs in pre-market, hitting 414.50, then dropped all the way down here to 410. And I will say, I saw some pretty scary statements today from JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, Mike. And there's a big thing approaching us that I think there's not enough attention going around right now, especially with all the big earnings and everything like that coming out. I think that this is really flying. It's not under the radar because obviously people know about it, but it's one of those situations right now where I feel like there's just so much other stuff going on that it's been kind of, shoved down a little bit. But obviously, we're obviously having a pretty much a really bad problem with the U.S. approaching a default, guys. Now, we've never actually defaulted, and Jamie Dimon's pretty much saying that we're going to have some panic the closer that we get to this. And I agree. I think that the weeks heading into this towards the end of May are going to start to get extremely volatile if they do not fix this situation. And we've actually had something like this happen in the past, Mike. If we go to the SPY daily chart back in August of 2011, this same thing actually happened. Now, I will say there wasn't like a huge crash in the market. It's not like the S&P 500 or the SPY fell by, 50% or anything like that, but it was a very respectful pullback there in 2011, and we had a credit downgrade, and that was the really big thing. Standard & Poor downgraded us, which for the first time ever, and they could possibly do that again, I'm seeing, Mike. There's a huge article on Yahoo Finance where they're talking about a potential of this actually happening again, and this is a very scary situation, especially with stocks and everything up around highs like they are right now. With all this downwards I say downwards movement at play here, this could be really bad if this really does start to cause some panic in the market.
Exactly. So it's like the main thing you need to know is, like, as we all know, the government, the US government likes to spend a lot more money than it brings in, and they're basically running out of money right now, and everyone around the world is waiting for the United States Congress to come together, work together, and raise the debt ceiling. But they just keep going back and forth, and they are not raising the debt ceiling, and that's bringing in a ton of worry that the United States might literally run out of money and not be able to pay its debt. And if the United States does not pay its debt, that will be extremely bad, and it will impact everything across the global economy. The United States has never really defaulted before, and if it does, like I said, it'll be so bad. So we'll see what happens, but overall, it's definitely a huge risk in the market that would basically impact all stocks and all industries in a bad way.
Yeah, it really would. And the S&P 500 here is sitting right at a huge resistance as we're starting to have this happen. This 418 to 420 level is huge. Now we keep seeing some stocks go up, like Apple today had another nice extension. I saw Amazon had a great move today back to the upside. It's like these stocks just keep going up right now. But I do feel like that eventually, as we get closer here, this could be terrible. And, as I'm reading through the article, Mike, about a potential credit downgrade, one of the bad things that I saw here was that this analyst actually says that he thinks that there should be a downgrade anyways, just because of the amount of US debt that we actually have and how high it's been getting. Obviously, we're not doing anything to fix it. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And, it's one of those situations that if we don't do it, it's obviously going to be a really bad catastrophe. But at the same time, Mike, if we keep raising the debt ceiling, it's what are we going to do? Just keep going more and more and more in debt until something really bad happens eventually? But it's one of those situations where it's just you have to raise it because we have to get our bills paid, or else it's going to be terrible for the markets. And anybody holding stocks out there should be very, very worried about this. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. I think that this is going to cause a big stir in the markets over the next few weeks and heading into, the beginning of June, of course.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like some ways to protect yourself is, if you have some existing stock positions, there are multiple things you can do. A lot of people like to look at like gold and silver as they're like somewhat safe. So you could look at like SLV and GLD. They would definitely hold up better than your average stock. But another thing you can do is actually just like, play some bearish positions in the market. So like SPXS, SPY put options, maybe UVXY. All of these types of stocks move to the upside in a big way when the markets come crashing down hard. Like UVXY, if we go on a daily chart, basically anytime the stock market comes tanking lower, UVXY pops up in an insane way. And with that being said, you don't want to hold this over long periods of time for multiple reasons, but when there is panic, we a lot of times do see either multi-100% run-ups, or like during COVID, that was like a 1100% run-up. It was kind of a tongue twister there.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's a big move to the upside. This thing can really run. And I feel like that this is we're like right at that point here where this could be a good buy down here at lows too. We just have to keep in mind that this does decay. So you never want to hold it for the long term, but obviously for like a few weeks heading up into this, it could be a good play. And I will say, Mike, looking at the VIX on the daily chart, we've been consolidating a ton down here, right around this lower area of the trend line. We actually fell under ever so slightly, and we're just kind of bouncing here. I'm very curious if we're going to start trading back up into here and maybe, come back up to retest 25 or even 30 again on the VIX like we have so many times in the past. I know people always talk about that 25 to 35 level being a huge area on VIX, like how we always reject right there. So maybe we'll start to run back up for a test of that again. And I think it's definitely possible, whenever we start to look at trends, and especially some of these stocks that are so overextended like NVIDIA. And look at this perfect bounce today, actually. They're bouncing like right off 290, and who knows, maybe this will actually be the top here. I'll tell you what, I'm definitely interested to see if it will be.
No doubt. So while some stocks are looking a little bit shaky, one stock, Tesla, actually had an amazing end to the day. So Tom, what's behind this news?
Yeah, this is actually awesome. So Tesla is running up because there's going to be increased confidence in their company, because Elon Musk is actually, he's actually hired already, they said, a new CEO for X/Twitter. So it's going to be big. They're starting in 6 weeks. And he's saying specifically, she will be starting in 6 weeks. So this leaves me really wondering, Mike, who this could be. I saw some funny stuff in Discord. Somebody said maybe Kathy Wood. Man, I'll tell you what, if she took over, I might have to delete my Twitter account, but but I don't know, man. This is a very cool situation, and it's awesome to see Tesla running up the way it is.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was not expecting this news at all. Elon Musk really just kind of surprised everyone out of nowhere. And, Tesla shareholders sure love this news.
Yeah, they did. That stock really ripped up today, and it's actually running up into recent resistance around 174 to 175. More specifically, though, there's like a perfect double top here, right around 174.45 to 174.50. So if we're able to break above this tomorrow with some good momentum, Tesla could go back on the uptrend. We've been seeing all these other stocks like Apple, Microsoft, etc., continue to run up. And I think that Tesla definitely has potential to maybe get back up. And as we can see on this daily chart, there's actually a little gap right here that we're trying to fill back. So maybe a run back up to like 178 to 180 could be nice for the next few days. And, Tesla is one of those stocks I know everybody out there loves, and it always has a ton of volatility, and the options are always running. So keep it on the radar. Anytime that they get good news, they get some good moves back. And I know that there was a lot of people worried about Elon not paying enough attention to Tesla because of Twitter. So I really like this, and I think that it could really catch some momentum.
Yeah, so like you said, we do have a little bit of resistance overhead, so obviously keep that on very close watch. But this catalyst can maybe spark a little bit of a rally in Tesla shares because other big tech stocks, whether it be Amazon or Google, have been running to the upside in a pretty good way over the past week, and Tesla's just kind of been left on the sidelines. So maybe this news can help the stock out even more.
Yeah, and I hope it can. I know they had like an event a few days ago where they were talking about some of their batteries and stuff like that. Elon had some nice videos and it didn't really help the stock too much. It just kind of went flat. So maybe this could be what we finally need to get up through that big resistance. And like you said, there was just so many big stocks moving today, like Amazon, Google, and others. It's just these things are just nonstop right now to the upside, Mike. And it's hard to fight that momentum whenever it just keeps rising. So I think Tesla is a really good one to watch for the next few days, especially if the market keeps going. But, there are some good plays that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes that are actually to the downside too. So there's potential both ways here in the market today.
Good stuff. And before we get into that, Tom, earnings season is slowly coming to an end. So what do we have to end the week?
Yeah, it looks like Disney, Beyond Meat, Unity, those were like the finales for the week. This morning we had JD. That actually popped up and kicked the China stocks off today. I will say, besides that, nothing else really for the end of the week. There's a couple things mixed in here, like New York City REIT, if you're interested in stuff like that. But to be honest, really for me, there's not too much on the radar. No big tech stocks. So, we'll be ready for those big earnings to come next week. And looking at the economic calendar, there is some data coming out tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. The Michigan Consumer Sentiment preliminary numbers will be coming out. Looks like they're expecting it to be very, very close to that previous number of 63.5. So I don't really expect that to move the market too much.
All right, good stuff. Well, with that being said, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. One stock I'm watching very closely is NIO, N-I-O. Basically, China stocks have been running to the upside with a lot of momentum over the past 2 days. And when these types of stocks run, a lot of times they really run. So I'll be watching NIO very closely tomorrow for some upwards movement. The more volume and just news, the better for this stock.
Yeah, I agree. This is a pretty nice stock here to the upside, and it kind of looks like it's been following Tesla the past couple of days. If we go to Tesla's chart, they had these big extensions up, and then they couldn't really break that resistance. And today they actually got pretty close. Looks like NIO also, has a big resistance right around 850, and I feel like they look like they're about to break it. So I agree, Mike. Keep it on the radar for tomorrow, and NIO always has some fun options out there as well. Microsoft is actually going to be my first play of the day today. There's a big support around 308.50 here. If we fall under this, I think that we'll start to trade back down towards 306, if not even lower tomorrow. I feel like that we could see a bit of a turnover in some of these tech stocks that are getting really overextended. Some of them are starting to hit pretty key resistance too. So I'll be watching that move down. But on the other hand, if they break that high of 313, I will watch calls, but mainly I'm watching for it to fall. It's just there's so much momentum lately and the market's been so up and down. I feel like it could go both ways.
All right. Another stock I'm watching is basically very similar to NIO, but it's actually JD. It's another China stock, and when China stocks run up, they all move together. But this one also just reported earnings, like Tom said earlier in the video. So I guess that's a good thing because it's also an earnings continuation setup. But either way, I'm watching JD to the upside tomorrow as well. Like I said, it's pretty similar to the NIO setup, and the more volume and news, the better.
Yeah, I really like this one. I feel like these China plays have some room back. If we go to that daily chart, it's not just oh man, JD had a little 5% pullback and now it's starting to run back to the upside, or it's not like Apple continuing to run either, already being at highs. They're actually bouncing off key support right at 33.70 after coming off of a 49, almost 50% pullback. I'll be honest, that's almost like a perfect 50% pullback, Mike. I don't know if that's scripted or what, but that's perfectly 50%. They're starting to really come up off that support. I think there's a lot of room on JD back up over the next few weeks. So I like this one as well. But, like I talked about with Apple continuing to run up, I'm going to continue to watch this one tomorrow in both directions. I feel like they could go up and down. And there's one big thing on the book map I saw with Apple over the past few days, and it's very consistent. every single day I see these big stacks of 500,000 plus sell orders up here, or sellers at 175. That is huge, Mike. I just keep seeing it come in day after day after day. And we're having a lot of problems starting to break that level here on Apple. Like if we go back to the chart, you can see today, and just this week in general, we've had a lot of bullish momentum, but we've been failing to break out. Every time we start to run up, we pull right back down. So I'm going to really watch that 175 level as resistance. If we're able to break it, I think it could be a good play to the upside, but I'm really watching for a resistance hit there. And if we go to the daily chart of Apple, there's actually almost a perfect like triple quadruple top here going on with some of these highs in the past. So I love that. I think we could maybe start to come down, and that's just so many sell orders there on the book map. And man, I love the book map, seeing things like this, Mike. It's so cool to be able to see those sellers stacked up there.
I mean, that's what you call just a wall, just a swarm of selling pressure just sitting there waiting. So 175 is the level to watch for Apple. That's a lot of selling pressure. So definitely keep a close eye on it. If you guys want to try Bookmap, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. It's like X-ray for the stock market, basically. But with that being said, Tom, it is now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have Google to the upside.
Yeah, Google here just continues to go up day after day. And I know they had that big event yesterday too. Go ahead and make them break above 118. If they break that, I think they could definitely continue on a good run.
All right, with the next one, we have Tesla, also to the upside.
Tesla here, I love it. Right around that recent resistance of 174.50. So if they can break that, watch for some calls. I think that this one has a lot of potential, along with the other EV stocks too.
All right, and then with the next one, we have AMD, and we need both directions.
Yeah, so AMD is actually pretty good here. So to the downside, there's a huge support recently, right around 96.20. If we're able to break below this, it's actually a double bottom this week. I'll go ahead and watch for some puts. We have to be careful. There is also some support around 95.50, but I feel like if we break 96.20 to 96 tomorrow, we'll start to really fall down a little bit more. And I also noticed a big recent lower high today on AMD, so keep that in mind too. But if we're able to run up above 98, then I'll watch for some calls, maybe for a retest of 99.50 to 100. That $100 resistance is a huge level up there.
Perfect. All right, well, we have that downside level on AMD. If it breaks below that, we're watching it to the downside. But we also have those upside levels for AMD for calls as well. And then we also have the upside levels for Tesla and Google. So keep those three stocks on watch for tomorrow. But it is now time for the big money $1.76 million trade of the day. We are looking at Baba, another China stock. Alibaba had an amazing day today, and basically $1.76 million was dumped into the 90 strike call options that expire on November 17th of 2023. So basically, like I said, a lot of China stocks had amazing momentum today, and when they run, they normally run in a pretty good way. I like the risk reward situation with this stock. Alibaba right now is lingering right around 88, so you know, the 90 strike calls are not too far out of the money. And for those of you who don't understand options, the main thing you need to know is that the more this stock rises, the more millions that this trade will make for, this 90 strike call.
Yeah, that's big there. 1.7 million going into Baba. And, there's a lot of resistances overhead, like, 93.50, 97 to 98, and then 100, of course, up there. So we have a lot of levels coming up, but it's just like that play on JD. They're coming off a big downtrend, and I feel like they're starting to get bought up off this double bottom and off this support. So I think it's fantastic here. It's following JD up, and I think that there could definitely be a continuation on this one. I love that 90 strike call as well, Mike. And they do have quite a bit of time out to November. So keep that in mind. They might actually be looking for maybe a month or a couple month run up here with the time that they have. And with Baba right here, just keep in mind that, it's a China play. I've talked down on some of the China plays lately, but I love them for trades. I'm not a big fan of buying them for the long term just because I don't like the risk of holding with China, but for trades and different things like that, I think it's awesome. And they can get so many huge swings, Mike. I've seen I've seen, well, you personally call out some amazing plays on Queb and a few other China stocks that have exploded in the past too.
There we go. All right, Tom. Well, I think we are set for a very interesting day tomorrow. Like we talked about earlier today, some news came out with Tesla and Elon Musk stepping down. So I'll be very interested to see how Tesla does tomorrow with this newfound momentum. But we also have some newfound momentum with the China stocks, as we've been talking about. And then, like you touched on earlier, we do have some economic data with the consumer sentiment set to release tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. So I think we're set for a pretty exciting day. Do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, there's just going to be so much momentum, so many potential setups. Tesla is going to probably be my favorite and my biggest watcher for tomorrow, but there's so many out there. I mean, I'll be honest, Mike, even like Meta had a great continuation back to the upside today. Netflix is kind of running up too. Look at that extension. Amazon, it's a great time for longs in the market. So let's keep it up. Looks like the bulls are in control right now, but I have a feeling, Mike, that, we saw all that big money come in and short the market out of the UAE and different things like that ahead of this default. I think it's just a ticking time bomb until this default starts to finally hit the market a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good sign. So if you guys want to stay up to date on all of these important events, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And last but not least, giant shout out to today's Discord member of the day, which is Hayden Holm. You've basically been in the chat for like 3 years now, and your activity has definitely been increasing this week. So definitely keep it up. It's awesome to have you in the chat. And besides that, guys, let's have an amazing end to the week.